The Spurs had themselves quite the year this year. 22 wins on the season. Not the best of years, maybe one of the worst of years. But with that being said, the Spurs are in line for the possible number one overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. And there is no better person to bring on than the Godfather of Spurs Media. It is Jeff Garcia of KENS 5 San Antonio to talk some Spurs. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Love that whole Godfather thing. But yeah, it was a rough season. But if you stick to the plan, perhaps there's a light at the end of the tunnel in just a few weeks.
Well, let's talk about the plan, Jeff, because you know, and you know, you do your Locked On Spurs podcast. You do great things with KENS 5. You're locked in up there. You're doing your thing, and in the 2-1-0, you know, the Spurs fan base can be quite rabid. And this year, some of those Spurs fans were not necessarily invested in the plan.
Yeah.
Do you think we're having more Spurs fans now finally see what is going to happen here in the next couple of years in terms of the rebuild?
Absolutely, yeah. It was a little rocky to start the season. You know, there was the team compete versus team tank. Ultimately, team tank won out because the reality had to, you know, be realized, and that is, as presently constructed to start the season, it just wasn't good enough. Now, you do the trade with Jakob Poeltl, you do the trade with Josh Richardson, and, well, you know, that further along the tank. Look, you don't have to talk to me. You could just even go to Brian Wright. So get this. Years ago, I would say actually take that back. This past preseason, he goes on another outlet.
Yeah.
And they ask him about trading DeJounte and Derek and heading into this past season. And he all but says the T word. He just says, hey, things have to be done to ensure the future of this franchise. So, I mean, without saying it, he said it. But I think with fans, they have to understand, and I think most of them understand now, is that this team, that's the only way to do it. You're going to have to bottom out. You have to do it. The Cavs, when they lost LeBron James, they bottomed out. And then, you know, they got lucky. They got a couple first-round draft picks. They got Kyrie. And unfortunately, they had LeBron come back, and they got themselves a title. You know, you're seeing it right now. John Morant, top pick. And again, Joel Embiid, the top pick. So, you know, it's just the way it is. And hopefully this coming summer, you know, the draft basketball gods smile in San Antonio, and they pick 1 through 3. I think now is the real season, because now I wouldn't say the Spurs are on the clock. I would just say it's just very important, because even if they win out the lottery or you get number 2 or number 3, look, Wemby and all the whole crew that's coming out, they're good. They're great players. They're not Timmy. They're not LeBron. They're not, you know, Magic. You know, they're not that impact, turn your season around a la David Robinson when he came over. They're not there. So I think your Spurs fans in Corpus, Spurs fans in San Antonio have to understand, when Wemby comes to San Antonio, hurrah, we're honking downtown. You guys are doing your thing up in Corpus celebrating the number 1 pick.
Yeah, we're going to be driving down Ocean Drive.
You're going to have to pump the brakes a bit, because it's still going to be the rebuild continue. It's just faster rebuild.
Real quick follow-up on that, Jeff, and then Marcos has a quick question for you as well. If they do land Wemby, will you be participating down Military Drive and honking and partying and all that?
You're damn right I will. Yes, I will. I will be honking. I think it'll be celebration. It'll be great, because I remember when the Spurs won the lottery and they picked Timmy, and it was at 97, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, hopefully they repeat that again. Spurs fans, they got to celebrate something. And you're not telling me just the Spurs organization itself. I mean, imagine the off-the-court impact that Wemby will have. Jerseys, TVs. Even the Spurs could be the worst team next year with Wemby. It don't matter. It's just Wemby.
Exactly.
Think about this. They're broadcasting Wemby's games, and he's not even in the NBA. The NBA is broadcasting his games. That's how much they're invested in him as being that type of player for the league. So whether it be the Spurs or whoever, hopefully it's just the Spurs, they're going to land themselves a great player. But, yeah, you know, and then becomes the, you know, more parts of the rebuild. Okay, you pick 1 through 3, Scoot or Miller or, you know, Cam or whoever. Then the next phase is going to be, how do we build around them? I think if they get Wemby, they have the pieces ready to go. I think, okay. Keldon, imagine Keldon, Sohan, and Wemby together and Vassell. I mean, my goodness. But if you get a Scoot, then things get a little different. If you get a Miller, things get a little different. You got to reorganize that. But I think the biggest piece of this rebuild that not many people are talking about is actually not on the player side. It's on the coaching side, because imagine if Pop says, all right, I got to dip out, man. That's it. That's all I can do.
Wow.
And that is going to be the biggest critical piece in any rebuild, because who replaces him? If they're internal, maybe the transition is better. If they go outside the family, what do they bring in? A college coach or another coach.
Anything could happen, yeah.
Great, but I'm going to bring in my crew.
We're here with
my coaching staff.
We're here with Jeff Garcia, KENS 5 San Antonio, breaking down all things San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, hey Jeff, good to talk to you. I was thinking about what you said on your Locked on Spurs podcast and what you kind of alluded to right there about how Victor Wembanyama might not be a David Robinson type player, a Tim Duncan type player, or a Joel Embiid to where he's going to immediately turn a franchise around. So not only if we do not get Victor, but let's say we drop a little bit from the draft lottery. Let's say we go a little bit farther in the top 10, we drop, and we don't get a guy. And this franchise is kind of locked in. Hopefully these young guys develop and stay healthy and all that. Do you think that, let's say this offseason doesn't go well for the Spurs, do you think that in the coming years we could see a shakeup in the front office?
I can definitely see that. I don't think they'll do anything with Brian Wright immediately. I think it'll be, I don't think it'll be that'll break a guy like a Wright or whoever else is in the front office. I think if that happens, that is the worst case scenario. I'm glad you brought that up. That is, look, the worst the Spurs can do in the draft is 7. That's the worst. That's the nightmare situation. And hey, you know what? Brian Wright has shown that he's not shy to trade away, players. I never thought that DeJounte would be traded. They traded him.
Yeah.
Derek White. I didn't think they traded him. They traded him. So. And I'm looking at the current roster right now. If your scenario happens where maybe they fall down into 7, I don't think Brian Wright would be shy to continue the rebuild. You can't sit here and tell me, fellas, that if you were to read a report, it pops up in your timeline and it shows, hey, they're shopping Keldon Johnson. I wouldn't. I don't think anybody would.
I don't think I'd be shocked, Jeff. I think, honestly, every single player on the Spurs roster, I think they are, not in danger, so to speak, but it's not going to be, like you're saying, a surprising thing to see that there's rumors out there that Keldon Johnson could get traded for more draft capital, that Devin Vassell could get traded for more draft capital, et cetera, down the line, right? I don't think anybody necessarily is safe on this roster, maybe except for Jeremy Sohan, because, coming off of his rookie year, they want to see him develop. He is a lottery pick. But we're talking about just in case, right? Let's say the Spurs don't get 1, 2, or maybe even 3. Let's say they don't get the Wemby, the Scoot, the Brandon Miller. Who's a guy lurking in the shadows that the Spurs could be interested in this draft?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I think the obvious ones are the two brothers, Asar and Amen. I think that either one of those players would be great. Fine, a win-win for the Spurs. That's exactly what they need. But again, they will present more of a roster shakeup. I think you would have to move pieces. So I always forget, which is the guard of the two? It's Amen, right?
Amen's the one that's been
Amen's the one.
He's the one that's been kind of been talked about a lot by Spurs fans lately, that Amen Thompson, there's some people that even have him higher than Scoot from what I've seen. I've seen some NBA draft players just kind of, NBA draft guys just say that.
And I'm glad you brought up Scoot, because And I think we got to couch this too with even though Wemby, but I think Wemby is just the obvious number one pick. But remember, these are two guys that, let's take Scoot. The G League Ignite shut him down early in their season. He didn't get the NCAA experience. He played on a G League Ignite level. I'm not knocking it, but that's just something to keep in the back of your head if the Spurs do draft him. And perhaps if Spurs trying to see his development maybe take off a little slower than expected, he hasn't played at that level, an NCAA tournament or, an NBA or just college, some sort of level. Wemby, too, look, he's playing professionally overseas, and that's great. But, how he would deal with bigger, faster, stronger players in the NBA. So those are just two things to keep in mind. And that's why I'm not surprised to see, like you mentioned right now, a Scoot's name perhaps falling out, a bit out of the top 3. Your Brandon Miller, your Amen, rising because they have the experience. Now, I think what helps Scoot in this situation was that we use Miller for an example. He had a horrible NCAA run. It was bad.
Yeah, it was pretty horrendous, dude.
A little bit with the stock rises and downers.
just seeing Miller in the tournament, right? And I get it, man. It might not be fair to judge him off of those 3 games because if you look at the course of the season, he was averaging about 19 points. He's a good a wing. He can play some defense. He can shoot, obviously, right? So it's technically not really fair to do it off the 3 games, but still, right? You want your guy who you're going to invest so much in. You want to see him step up in the biggest moments. Am I correct?
No, you're right. And then that's part of being a pro. Can you rise to the challenge? Can you step up? So, and look, I don't think that'll hurt his stock too much. I mean, what he did prior to the tournament was just phenomenal. So, all in all, I think the Spurs are sitting pretty. So, even if the worst case scenario happens, as you mentioned right now, if they fall to 7, or fall out of the top 3, again, what else do they have up their sleeve? They have a boatload of money. I mean, a lot of cash. They could throw out a free agent if they want to come to San Antonio. You could sell them on that. Okay, fine. You could also sell them on this. That, hey, Team X, we like your established star. Guess what? And look at the Spurs contract situation. They got a lot of team-friendly deals. Even Kelton's. Very team-friendly. So keep that in mind. I think those are their break glass in case something happens moves. But they say, look, we got a lot of money. We got a lot of young guys. These young guys are on flippable contracts. Nothing major injuries to them. They're still young. I think that would be attractive to any other NBA team that would want to make a deal for any of the players on the roster. Not to say that the Spurs rosters and the players like Keldon and Devins are just flippable because they're easy. No, I think they'll come at a high price tag, but they're not at the level of untouchable.
We're here with Jeff Garcia, KENS 5 San Antonio, also the host of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure you give that a listen. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jeff. I would say that I'm definitely an above average Spurs fan, and I even found it hard at times to keeping engaged, watching every game or, keeping updated. And then let's say I miss a game and then I check the score and we're down by 30 or we're down by 20, Yeah. It was a rough season for sure. What do you think that this front office, needs to do, or what do you think needs to happen to get that fan engagement a little bit higher?
Yeah, I think a down season didn't help at all, and I get that. They put their best foot forward last season. The Alamo Dome game was the big one. They had, the bobblehead, stuff like that. But I think it goes beyond that because I think eventually the fans will be, okay, that's good, thanks for the treats, but talk about the product on the court.
Yeah, where's the steak, Where's the steak at? I want the steak.
Yeah. Give me the steak. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your appetizers are good, but where's the steak? Exactly. I think the first thing they got to do is I think they got to show aggression. I think they got to show that they're in the mix. If let's just say the lottery balls don't fall their way and they're 5 or 6, whatever. Show aggression that you're trying to move up the draft, or this too. Show aggression. You're trying to acquire more picks, trade down, and flip your pick, for more picks.
Can you see them doing that, Jeff? Can you see them?
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
like getting back into the first round, or maybe flipping a couple of. They have so much draft capital. Can you see them maybe making a move in the draft to pick up another first rounder?
Yeah, I can. All right, because, I definitely can.
You're talking about it, Jeff, and like the lack of interest this year, right? I believe the Spurs were in the lower part of the league in terms of fan attendance. And, with them trying to get into the Austin market, which is another kind of controversial topic for Spurs fans out there.
I got a funny story to tell you about that. Ahead. So right now in San Antonio, I'm hosting a big anime convention.
Oh, nice.
And so, remember, it's an anime convention, not a sports, not a Spurs. It's an anime convention. So I get up on stage. I'm getting the crowd ready. I take a break. I had 2 anime fans come up to me, and I'm thinking they're going to talk anime. Where they asked me, "Hey, the Spurs are not leaving Austin, right?" So that's how much is in everybody's head right now in San Antonio. Everybody has this fear they're going to move to Austin. But as far as fan engagement, I think, and moving up and down the draft and everything, I think you got to show them that they are willing to make a move for the best. Because I personally, guys, I know I can do it, but I don't think the majority of Spurs fans can do another down season.
Yeah, we're just talking about like
that would be rough.
The average Joe Spurs fan, who's not going to want to spend money at the arena for a losing product. Because look, interest can be high, but that could turn into apathy real quick if the Spurs are not showing that aggression you're talking about.
Yeah. And so moves like that, look, are they going to do more bobbleheads and more? It seemed nice. Of course, they're going to do that. I mean, there's no surprise.
More
there.
Fiesta jerseys?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw, I broke some news earlier this season that the city edition jerseys, Fiesta themes are no more.
Oh.
Yeah. There's no more. Now, I think my source was just playing, word games.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. The city edition Fiesta theme jersey is over.
Oh, man.
Perhaps they moved that Fiesta theme to the association jersey theme or to the icon or something like that.
Yeah, that could happen.
I can see that happening, but no, I mean, look, you got to get fans going on. You mentioned the attendance. That was interesting. I got a lot of some heat for this on social media because there was the Spurs ranked near the bottom of attendance. They did like 25th.
Yeah,
but that was just for this season. But if you're looking from the 2021-22 to 2022-23 season, that season over season, they showed a big jump. Now, obviously, that's kind of skewed because of the Dome game, the Mexico City game. But, hopefully that's a sign that things are getting a little better attendance-wise. They got to show it, too, because, look, at the end of the day, this franchise is still a business, and you got to put butts in seats, and that's how they make their money. So,
exactly,
fans, they got to show out and fill up those seats.
Exactly. Jeff, that is our time, man. We got to let you go, but, man, we do appreciate you coming on and chopping it up with us down here in Corpus Christi. You're always one of our favorite guys to talk Spurs with, and I know the lottery's coming up, and then draft time's coming up, so we'll make sure to hit you up and get your thoughts on all that when the time comes.
You got it, buddy. Y'all take care, okay?
Hey, you take care too, Jeff. There he goes. Jeff Garcia, KENS 5, San Antonio. We appreciate you so much, Jeff. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Big claps for Jeff.